Let's go ahead and get started with our insert head function. Hopefully, this structure looks familiar to you. We have a node class, which takes in a constructor and one value as the parameter. Then we have a singly linked list class that takes no parameters and has two properties, this.head and this.tail. As a refresher, the head node is the first element in the linked list. Step 1. Let's create an insert head function inside of our singly linked list. Our insert head function is going to take in one parameter, and that parameter is a value. Step 2. Create a new node using our node class. We do this by saying let new node equal a new node. Our node here represents our class, and we're going to pass it in the value or the parameter from our insert head function. Step 3. Determine if the linked list is empty. Because our linked list starts by saying this.head is equal to null, we can do a check to see if that is true. Let's start with an if statement. We're going to say if this.head equals null. This line right here, this.head equals null, is referencing the constructor. If the constructor's head is still pointing to null, that means our linked list is empty. If our linked list is empty, we don't have to worry about any other values. We can simply set the head node and tail node to equal the new node. We do this by saying this.head is equal to the new node, and this.tail is equal to the new node. If our linked list is not empty, meaning that there are values in our linked list, then we must reassign the current head node. Let's create an else statement. Because the linked list is not empty, meaning that there are values in the linked list, we need to reassign the current head node. Let's store the current head node as a temporary variable. We can do this by saying let temp equal this.head. It is now time to reassign the head node to equal the new node. We do this by saying this.head is equal to new node. The new head node has been set. It is now time to set the head node's next value to the old head. The old head is currently stored in our temporary variable. So we can say this.head.next is equal to temp. We finished the function. Let's walk through what we've done so far. We created an insert head function that takes one parameter. This parameter is a value that we will pass our node class. The first step is to create a new node, and we assign this new node to equal a new node class, passing in our parameter of our insert head function, a value. Then we create an if statement. And here we're checking to see if this.head is null. If the head node equals null, that means that the linked list is empty. If the linked list is empty, we can simply assign the properties of head and tail to equal the new node that we created. However, if the linked list is not empty, meaning that there are values currently in the linked list, then we must create an else statement. Here, we will create a variable named temp, and this temp will store the current head node. Next, we will assign the head node to equal the new node that we created, replacing the old head node. Because the head node is now the new node, we need to point the next value of our current head to equal the old head. And that is the temporary value that we stored. So go ahead and say this.head.next is equal to temp. So this temp currently equals the old head. We will then reassign the current head node to equal the new node, replacing the old head node. The last step is to point the current head node's next value to equal the old head. This will connect our linked list and effectively replace our old head. Let's see what this looks like. We can create a new linked list and store it in a variable. The first thing we can do is create a new linked list. Now that we've created a linked list, let's add some values. To add a value, we're going to use our insert head function. We're going to chain this insert head function onto our new list. So we can say new list.insert head and then assign it a value. Now that we've added this value, we can console log what new list looks like. Now, let's see what the new list head value is. We can do this by creating a console log of the new list.head. What we see is that the node that we've created has a value of illustrated.js and a next value of null. To test to see if our function works, we can insert a new head value using our insert head function. Here, I have created another insert head, and I provided a new value of new head node. When we run this, the console log of our new list.head should point to the new head node value, not illustrated.js that we see right here. Perfect. When we ran our console log, what we get is a new node. This time, the value is our new head node, meaning that our insert head function is working correctly, and it correctly points the next value to the other node that we created earlier with the value of illustrated.js.